Dear Lord, we submit ourselves to you as your servants and the servants of the people of Hampstead who placed their trust in us. Please allow every word that is spoken and every action taken to be in the best interest of Hampstead and for everyone gathered here tonight to be a stabilizing influence in these unsettled times. O Lord, bless this meeting and our town. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Who's playing music? Am I hearing music? All right,
It was the ice cream guy.
maybe outside. Okay, roll call.
Mayor Nevin.
Here.
Councilwoman Barrett.
Here.
Councilwoman Painter.
Here.
Councilman Thomas.
Here.
Councilman Unglesby.
Here.
Councilman Zolman.
Here.
All right, thank you. Minute approvals for the public hearing and council meeting on March 14th.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Tammy, when you're ready for the manager's report.
The 2023 town election will be held in Town Hall on Tuesday, May 9th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. for 2 members of council and a mayor. All terms are for 4 years. If you are a registered voter in Carroll County and live within within the incorporated town limits, you are eligible to vote in town elections. Yesterday was the close of nominations for office. 3 candidates applied for the 3 open seats. Incumbent Mayor Nevin filed for mayor, and incumbents Councilman Unglesby and Councilwoman Painter filed for the 2 council seats. The Board of Supervisors of Elections met yesterday at 4:30 p.m. and validated the candidates. Absentee ballots are now available. Residents may pick up 1 ballot at the town office or request that it be mailed to them, but under no circumstances shall more than 1 absentee ballot or envelope be given to the same voter. If there is more than 1 absentee ballot in any envelope when it's returned, all shall be rejected. The sealed envelope containing the absentee ballot may be delivered in person to the town office or town hall before the close of the polls on the date of the election. If it is mailed, it must be received prior to the close of polls on the election date. The May council meeting will take place the following evening on Wednesday, May 10th at 7:30. Our commercial and residential projects continue to move forward. We continue to work with several different site plans and business prospects. Ridge Engineering is planning to begin operations in their new facility in October of this year. Town staff met with County Economic Development and the contractor on site at the North Carroll Business Park. The curb for the new entrance road to the industrial park has been installed, but access to Route 30 cannot be approved until the railroad crossing caution light has been relocated. Staff continue working on the preparation of the FY24 budget, which will be introduced to the council during the May council meeting. For our North Water Tower project, Public Works drained the North Water Tower during the last week of March. The contractor began work last week, removing the old paint from the interior wet chamber to prepare it for painting. The project should take approximately about 6 weeks to complete. And we did put something on Facebook because people did call wondering why people are crawling on the tower. Mid-Atlantic Utilities continues to work on the pipe removal and replacement project. Currently, they are installing service connections along East Shiloh Avenue and the section of South Carroll Street south of Shiloh Avenue. When this work is completed, they will begin the last phase of the project, which is installing a new water main and service connections on Shiloh Avenue south of Carroll Street to the address of 3932. The contractor will apply permanent patching on Shiloh Avenue and the south section of South Carroll Street after all work has been completed, which they anticipate will occur in May.
We have, Toby, we haven't had any issues with water pressure at the north end of town?
Town staff continues to have monthly meetings with our consultants to discuss the status of the engineering design for our water system centralization project. Town staff attended the Hampstead Main Street Committee meeting on March 13th. Then staff and the committee walked the downtown area of the Main Street on Monday, March 27th to discuss where to place benches. We have met with vendors and we are waiting for a quote for the benches. This quote will also include a couple bike racks for placement at War Memorial Park and our municipal parking lot by Odin Kemp Park. Town staff attended the Hampstead Day stakeholders meeting on April 5th. There's been a significant increase in vendors submitting applications this year, and many are new vendors to Hampstead Day. As of the meeting, Lions Club had received 101 vendor applicants that rented 75 spaces because some vendors requested half a space. The deeds have been created to separate the Hillcrest Water Tower property into 2 equal parts, which will be conveyed to the appropriate adjacent property owners. We will be, well, I think you signed those right before the meeting, but we'll be contacting the property owners this week to have them review and sign the deeds. Once the deeds are signed, they will be recorded, and the town will no longer own the property.
Questions for Tammy? All right, Diane, we can hear the start of the farmer's market.
Okay, the Hampstead Farmers Market Advisory Team met on April 3rd. Over the past month, our confirmed vendors have more than doubled to 34. Several of these vendors participate in alternating weeks only, or only on several dates during the season, so we are still accepting and reviewing applications. Of those vendors, 5 of them are going to be brand new this season. Three Girls Garden will be selling produce and floral bouquets. North Acres Farm, which is located in Parkton, will be selling pork, beef, and lamb. My Sage in Bloom, a florist in Manchester, and she will be selling bouquets, cut flowers, dried flowers, plants, and herbs. Limestone and Larder will be selling prepared salads, which I don't believe we've ever had a vendor selling prepared salads at the market before. They'll also be selling pottery and a variety of produce. And the Candy Cauldron will be selling all kinds of baked goods, stuffed cookies, cake slices, brownies, chocolate-covered pretzels. This vendor submitted several photos of her baked creations with her application, and they just look marvelous, so we'll be excited to have
So
her
my new
there.
favorite vendor.
We now have 16 sponsors, and all of our musician slots have been filled. We will have more information about our June 3rd opening day next month, and so just keep an eye on the Facebook page and the website.
Sounds good. Thank you. Wayne?
The Hampstead Train Station Committee is looking forward to opening day, which is going to be Hampstead Day. Music in the Park, we booked our bands for this year. On June 10th, we have Middle Sister. They played last year. June 24th, we'll have music by Just Us. We'll have a new band, Allison Tomes, on July 8th. Bootleg on the 22nd of July. Best Regards on the 12th. Hickory Wind on the 26th. And for September 9th, we've got the Big Moon Blue Band, or the Blue Moon Big Band coming back. Yeah. So ought to be a good time.
Very good.
All right.
So that's the second and fourth Saturdays of June,
month.
July,
Yep.
August, and the first one in September.
You have it, sir. Correct. The Tree Commission, we got our 2022 Green Award for planting our trees. I think the town remains a tree city. In addition to that, we have a tree planting coming up on, we're going to do it on Earth Day, 4/22. Arbor Day is on a Friday. It's kind of hard to get people to come out and plant trees on a Friday. So we're going to do our tree planting. It's going to be on Wellesley Court over in Westwood Park. Westwood Park is providing the trees, and the Tree Commission is doing the planting.
How many?
7 trees. We're putting a big, I think, what we just out up there, American oak or
White oak.
white oak?
White
Yeah,
oak,
white oak
big
up in the big center, and then we're going to plant some other oaks along
Brandon white oaks.
the area that's overlooking the bypass.
Yeah.
And that's it for me.
Thank you. Deb?
The Planning and Zoning Commission met on Wednesday, March 22nd, and on the agenda was approval of signage for 841 South Main Street, which was Smokers World. And the sign went up prior to approval, so the application was yellow letters, the picture was blue letters. I know that Jim visited them to have the signs turned off until it was resolved, and they were advised to remove their temporary flags to come down as well until they come to the next Planning and Zoning meeting, which will be at the end of this month.
Okay. Thank you. Dave?
Okay, so lots of stuff going on with Parks and Recs. Chief Sites Park, the walking path at Chief Sites Park was resurfaced in March due to surface cracks in the walkway, and it was actually covered under warranty from the prior work that we had done. A freestanding bench swing has been purchased from Forever Redwood for the park and is being constructed at this time. The anticipated delivery of the swing will be mid-July. Concrete pad, which will be poured this week at the Chief Site Parks by Public Works. That's where the bench is going to be installed, or the swing, excuse me. A new Chief Sites Park sign was installed in March, and we want to thank Duo Graphics and Design for creating and installing that new sign. Sugar Maple Park, the town of Hampstead was awarded a program open space grant for Sugar Maple Park by the Maryland Department of Natural Resources. The town has partnered with Sparks at Play to design and install an obstacle course playground and swing area. In addition, benches and picnic tables will be added to the park for families to enjoy the park activities. We anticipate the new park construction to begin in late September. War Memorial Park, new sidewalks are going to be poured either this week or next week, which will run along the dog ear, we call it, which is in front of the school next to that church. That's going to be done by Public Works. The garden at Richards Family Cemetery, donations over the past few weeks have been outstanding. As you all might have seen, we had a letter, actually an article done in the Northern News a few weeks back, and we received several donations for the gardens. I want to thank Mr. Matt Wist. He lives in Hampstead, and he called, and he lives in the woods near the town, and he said he had thousands of native ferns growing there. He's already come up and donated 30 of those ferns to the plants. He also, not only did he donate the plants, he actually came out for me and the volunteers and laid it out and planted the bed, mulched it, and took care of it, so we didn't have to do any of that. It's really nice. Mr. Frank Yates, I'd like to thank. He saw the article as well. He lives on Main Street. He had about 60 feet of wrought iron fence that he donated. He told me that the fence was made in about 1920. He saved it from a home in Washington, D.C. near the White House. And this fence is in great shape, and we'll be installing it probably around our rose garden that's expanded. We also received a donation from Roof Right and Estate Care here in Hampstead. They donated about 5 yards of black dyed mulch and 2 yards of topsoil. This allowed us to fill the new bed for the herb garden and provide mulch for the fern garden as well as the existing beds. Once again, I want to thank Public Works because they actually helped me transport all that there. The wrought iron fence and all the dirt and mulch would not have fit in my F-150. Too big. Finally, I want to remind everyone this year about the MML scholarship that we have for Carroll County. We will be offering 3 $1,000 scholarships. This year, the applicants must live in one of our 8 incorporated municipalities in Carroll County. The application form must be received here at Town Hall by 4 p.m. on or before April 28th, which is a Friday. And the form is available on the town's website under the community section under news and announcements. So far, out of 3, I've gotten 2. That's it. So more the better. More the better. So please apply. Thank you.
We can't give it away. We've got 3 $1,000 scholarships from the town, right?
Actually, I think it's 4
4?
this year.
4.
Yeah.
So,
Please
same
apply.
goes. They always are last minute. Ben, last but not least, nice, good work.
Thank you.
All right, for the month of March, our average water usage was 327,000 gallons per day, and so far this month is 329,000 gallons per day. Rainfall in March was 1.9 inches, and total rainfall so far for April is 0.22 inches. And a reminder that hydrant flushing will occur April 19th at 9 p.m.
Why are we in the 320s? Any idea? Well, I mean, it's been in the 340s and 350s. Oh, there you go. All right. So, good to hear. All right. That's it for all the oversight responsibility reports, Chief.
Good evening, everyone. During the month of March, we investigated 4 reportable traffic accidents, 5 minor property damage only accidents, and 2 crashes took place at the 42 Circle. Speed signs were placed at 8 locations for a total of 65 days of display. The focus continues to be on the school areas. With reference to specifically traffic enforcement, we conducted 24 selective enforcements over a period of 14 hours. During that activity, 23 citations, 8 warnings were issued, and 3 DUI arrests were made. Overall traffic enforcement included 114 citations and 202 warnings. We conducted 663 patrol checks of businesses and schools. With reference to serious crime, 10 DUIs were reported, 2 assaults of the 2nd degree, 2 thefts, and 1 4th-degree burglary. Arrests included 10 adults were taken into custody for DUI, 11 adults for various traffic offenses, 3 adults for CDS possession, which was not marijuana, 1 adult for littering, 2 adults for open warrants, and 1 juvenile referral for a threat of mass violence, actually. 150 hours of training were completed. Some of the topics included annual firearms, firearms classroom, taser refresher, HPD, the initial departmental training that Casey Mann went through. I'll explain a little bit more in that in a little bit. Stop stick training, officer community interaction, which is a new virtual program that we participated with down at the Sykesville Academy. Officer Wilt went through that. Ultimately, everybody will get through that. And a course on building financial strength in first responder families. Community events, and basically all these, I believe I battled out of order and provided this information to you last meeting, but we participated in the Read Across America, both at the Hampstead Elementary School. Lieutenant Gagler was over at the Celebrity Daycare School. Town Hall and HPD all participated in the Biz Bowl up at Greenmount. We finished second. I think I mentioned that.
Yeah, to the actual Greenmount Bowl people, ringers. So we did well. We acquitted ourselves well.
And that would be my report. That's all I have.
All right, thanks, Chief. Any questions? All right.
Thank you.
You'll be back up in a minute. My report, so we do an If I Were a Mayor presentation to the elementary school. The Crossroad Church across the street has a boys group. They asked me to do the same presentation to them, so I did that. So it's always interesting to give a little history on the town and the different authorities that we have or don't have within the town, and then, you know, point out who the police are and who the people who work in the back office are, as well as Public Works. Let's see. And then we attended the Northern News Awards for the Person of the Year, which this year was Chris Cavey, which was an excellent, if you ask me, an excellent event and a good and a worthy recipient this year. Chris has been a big supporter of ours through the years, lives down on Black Rock Road, not quite in town, and his son was on the Hampstead Town Council for a 4-year term from, I think, 2011 to 2015. And he was Governor Hogan's appointment secretary for all 8 years. So that was well attended by all of us up here. We also attended Commissioner Collar's town hall at North Carroll, which was an interesting town hall in that all the issues were outside of Hampstead or Manchester. They weren't in any way, shape, or form related to District 2, which Ken he represents. So that worked out pretty well for us. And then I have an MML legislative wrap-up that's coming up, Maryland Municipal League Legislative Committee wrap-up. As everybody may know, the General Assembly has now finished their work for the year, thankfully, and so we'll have a wrap-up on how all the bill positioning we did, how we ended up, which was fairly decent. We also have a board meeting coming up, both Dave and I, at the end of the month, and then I'll be getting the first true look at the budget with the staff this Friday, and we'll go from there. So I'm hopeful that the increases in property assessments will take care of all the increases in costs, because inflation's killing everybody these days. So that's my report. Well, new business, it's a great event, great one to come to, Scouts. That we do a lot of commendations for some of our Hampstead Police Department officers and recognize them for going above and beyond the call of duty. I think there's 4 such commendations that we want to make this tonight, and they're all very well received, and there's a reason why people like to live in Hampstead, want to live in Hampstead, and it's such a safe place and a great place to raise a family because of the efforts that our police department goes through. And I think 4 examples you're about to hear will give you an idea of some of the things that our officers have done. So, Chief, without further ado. Get as close to the mic.
I'm down here as well.
But, okay.
I've been told I talk too much. I've been counseled by His Honor, so I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible.
Not often the chief talks
And
more than the mayor.
That's hard sometimes for me to do because I have an opportunity.
So they can hear you on TV.
There we go. I'm sorry. I apologize to the TV audience. I'm fortunate enough to come to work every day, and I work with a great group of people. And typically, we like to do some recognition in May. There's a lot of police-related activities that take place during that time, Police Week, etc. But May's usually a filled event for council, and this year, is going to be no exception. So we took advantage, and I appreciate the opportunity from the mayor and council, because I know you have a full agenda tonight, but take a few minutes to acknowledge some of the great work our folks do, and we're going to cap it off with a swearing-in ceremony, give you all an opportunity to sort of meet our newest officer. One of the things that happens when we do commendations is we have to shrink the story into one page. So, you know, it has to fit and it has to look pretty, and I appreciate all the work Judy did to help me out, because I don't do this myself. I'm not capable of doing it. I certainly need help. But there's a lot of work that goes into the story that doesn't make it out there, and I think it's important for everybody to understand. The first commendation, I'm going to ask Vince Wilt to come up here. We had a series of, back in January, thefts from auto. This got a lot of play on social media. Everybody's familiar with it. Windows were being smashed out. Purses were being taken. Vince was on day work during the time when a lot of this took place. And he was able to look at some of, essentially, the crime pattern, what was taking place. And he put it together with information that was out there, some recent events. And he was able to come up with his best approach to go out and look essentially for the bad guys. That's what we're talking about. He chose the park and ride as a great spot, and as he got there, he interrupted a crime in progress. Ultimately, this turned into a car chase. It was finally concluded down in Baltimore County. A lot of police resources were involved, but ultimately 2 people were taken into custody. And I'll read the commendation that he's about to get. On January 18th, 2023, PFC William Wilt was on duty for the day shift with the Hampstead Police Department. He's been aware of a series of thefts from automobiles that had taken place throughout the county earlier in the week. During the course of his shift, he learned of another incident that had taken place in the Manchester area. Based on the information regarding this crime pattern, he developed a plan to check various locations that could be possible targets for this continuing crime spree. During this, he would check the park and ride located at 42 on the bypass. As he did so, he interrupted the suspects while they were preparing to break into another vehicle. Attempts to stop the suspect vehicle and the park and ride were unsuccessful, and the vehicle fled from the scene, with PFC Wilt attempting to conduct a stop. The driver would refuse to yield and continue to flee. The actions of the driver became sufficiently dangerous that PFC Wilt would cease trying to stop the vehicle and instead began to coordinate efforts to locate the vehicle with law enforcement agencies in the area. Ultimately, the suspect's vehicle would be located in Baltimore County, and after a brief pursuit, the vehicle would become disabled and suspects taken into custody. PFC Wilt would respond to Baltimore County after identifying the suspects, returning them to Carroll County to face charges. PFC's Wilt's actions on that day were commendable. He reviewed the appropriate data associated with the crime trend, and he applied his deployment strategy based on this data. The end result was locating suspects while a crime was in process and applying safe techniques to take the suspects into custody. His actions were notable in the finest traditions of the police service, and as such, he's being recognized with this commendation. All right, thank you.
Wasn't that long ago he was up here getting sworn in.
I'm going to ask Sam Reese to come up here.
Yeah, you. Come on. She's shy.
I'm wearing my tie, by the way, so this is tie back for you. I'm wearing my tie. You don't want to I can really tell you about this. Officer Reese came to us from Hagerstown, and we have been blessed to have her. She has shown incredible abilities, skills, on the street, but she also has a knack for investigation. She's very good at that. As such, in October of last year, local business realized that they had an employee that had been embezzling funds from the business. They came to us, they initiated a report, and Sam ultimately took over the investigation. She conducted well over 100 interviews. I think she identified roughly 80 victims. There was tens of thousands of dollars taken during the scam. Ultimately, she located the suspect, coordinated efforts with law enforcement agencies in other states, and took the subject into, or had the subject arrested and brought back to Carroll County. It's hard to really share how much work goes into that. Each and every one of these victims have to be interviewed. Statements have to be taken from them. It all has to be meshed into a format that the state's attorney who's ultimately going to prosecute this understands and the crime makes sense. So let me read the commendation here. In October of 2022, PFC Reese was assigned to investigate a theft complaint reported by a local business. An automobile dealership in town had discovered that they were a victim of a theft by one of their employees. Throughout approximately 100 interviews, she identified an elaborate fraud and forgery scheme that used fraudulent warranty purchases to embezzle tens of thousands of dollars from a victim business. In addition, she also identified 80 customers of the business who had been victimized. During the investigation, the accused subject fled the area. PFC Reese engaged in an extensive search to locate this person. She coordinated efforts with the victim business and various law enforcement agencies in multiple states. Ultimately, she coordinated in locating and arresting the individual in Oklahoma. With the assistance of the Tulsa Police Department, the subject was taken into custody and returned to Carroll County. PFC Reese's investigative skills, hard work, and tenacity were keys to this successful investigation. These actions are consistent with the highest traditions of the law enforcement profession, and as such, are being recognized with this foundation.
Nobody's flying machine guns.
If I can ask Corporal Crenshaw to come up.
Just got here.
I mentioned it a minute ago with investigations, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of work.
Over here next to me. Over here next to me. Really, really shy.
Turn around and look at everybody. There's a huge amount of legwork that goes into any kind of follow-up investigation. If this was television or Netflix, in a half hour, everything's done. Real life is a grind. And one of the challenges here, and I've said this before, we do everything that every other police department in the country does. The difference is everybody has to wear multiple hats. So in the context of these combinations of reading out, understand that the officers are having to stop the investigation, answer calls for service, go to court, do everything else in the course of their duties. And it's a full plate. In September of 2019, there was a series of burglaries that took place overnight in our business district. There was 3 Asian restaurants that were broken into and the former Ricky's Bistro. Basically, the actors came in, they smashed out their front windows, they got in, they took cash from the cash register, and they left. There was no suspects. There was no description of anybody involved. There was basically nothing to go on. Jonathan was assigned to do the follow-up. And he started with basically processing the scene. He arranged for the state police to come out and help us gather some evidence at the scene. And then from there, it became good old-fashioned police work to try to figure out who was out here and who was responsible for this. So over the course of essentially 7 years, we went through a series of videos. We went through history of cell phones that were active in the area during the time frame when this took place, between roughly 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. Basically trying to identify cell phone numbers that were active, that were hitting on our cell phone towers, and then compare them to people who were possible suspects. Ultimately, he was able to develop a suspect with the assistance of the DC police, which led to meetings with the Montgomery County Police Department. I believe there was a police department in New Jersey that effected arrest on an individual which tied us into a phone number of one of bazillions that were recorded in our cell phone towers. From there, we were able to come up with a tag, a vehicle, locate vehicle on video in the area, and ultimately lead to an arrest. So I'm going to read this real quick. On Sunday, September 1st, 2019, a series of burglaries took place throughout the Hampstead Commercial District between 3 and 4 a.m. 4 businesses were entered by breaking out the front windows with cash being removed from registers. An additional business just outside of the town limits was also victimized. Corporal Jonathan Cranshaw was assigned to investigate these incidents. Over the next 4 years, he would conduct an investigation that would include coordinating with the Maryland State Police, the Montgomery County Police Department, and the Metropolitan Police of the District of Columbia. During this investigation, multiple sources of investigative leads were used. This included reviewing hours of video recordings, cell phone records, cell tower records, and DNA. A suspect was identified, and in late 2022, there were sufficient grounds to charge the subject. On Friday, March 31st, 2023, the suspect appeared in Carroll County Circuit Court and entered a guilty plea to this series of burglaries. They received a 10-year sentence. Corporal Cranshaw's continued perseverance and determination in using multiple sources of technology and coordinating with the various law enforcement entities' information systems led to the successful conclusion of this case. His actions were in the finest traditions of the Hampstead Police Department, and as such, they are being recognized with this combination of power.
That's good.
One more.
That's so long, yeah.
Gotta get that.
Nope.
Judy's gonna take that. We don't trust her on the account.
No.
Trying to address them with everything else.
In a few minutes, we're going to swear somebody in, and we're going to talk a little bit about community policing and how it works and how important it is. But obviously, everybody here knows Stacy. She has been here, for countless years, 20-some years at this point in time. And during that time, she's met more people than I ever possibly could here in town, and developed relationships with those folks. And that's so important. People talk about community policing all the time, but they really don't necessarily understand what it means. And I don't even like to use that term. To me, it's just policing. And the idea that you can go out and meet with people, they understand what your function is, but you develop a positive relationship with them so that later on down the road when they're having a bad day, it pays dividends. And what I'm about to read to you was one of those days. I was there, and many times during the day, in my 5 years here, Stacy has been my partner most of the time. And you're able to develop sort of a sense of what your partner is like, what they do, how they think. And sometimes you have to trust them. And I will tell you what I'm about to read in the books, right, in the official way that you're supposed to do things, this is not in that book. I'm very familiar with the book in another life. But on this particular day, I trusted her judgment. I understood what she brought to the table. And sometimes you have to trust your people, even when it's maybe not necessarily following the typical ways that you do things. And that's what happened this day. During the course of her career, Lieutenant Gabler has developed countless strong relationships with members of the Hampstead community. It is not uncommon for community members to seek advice and assistance of Lieutenant Stacy. In many ways, she is the embodiment of community policing. The value of this relationship was noticeably apparent during an incident in September of 2022. A local citizen was suffering a mental health crisis due to a series of life challenges. Friends and family called 911 for assistance after fearing for themselves and their family members. Circumstances quickly deteriorated, and upon the arrival of law enforcement, the citizen produced a knife and threatened self-harm. Furthermore, the suicidal subject demanded that officers utilize their firearms to shoot and kill them, while ultimately barricading themselves in a second-floor bedroom. As the incident rapidly escalated, Lieutenant Gabler arrived on the scene to assist. The family immediately recognized her from numerous interactions throughout her career. Lieutenant Gabler had known this individual since they were a child, and upon hearing her name, the subject immediately requested that she help them. At her request and upon her direction, the individual discarded the knife and agreed to follow her instructions. Lieutenant Gabler safely took this person into custody and then transported them to the hospital for a mental health assistance without incident. There were no injuries to anyone involved. Lieutenant Gabler demonstrated exceptional police skills in the successful, peaceful resolution of this critical incident while placing herself in dangerous circumstances. Her actions were in the highest traditions of the police department and are being recognized with this commendation.
All right.
You want to do an intro?
Casey, do you want to come up?
And your wife
and the child.
She said, "No."
I don't think she knew that part.
Would you think it's a little more, that part, a little more cordial here?
I thought he was going to be home sleeping.
No?
Because I was going to So we're going to try to make this as quickly as possible because obviously everybody can understand. Everybody's a mom here. This is bedtime. So we're going to do this as quickly as possible. Casey came to us from Prince George's County, but everybody has heard a similar explanation of how we do things and how people get to the point from where they apply to they're standing up here and they're actually answering calls. Casey applied along with multiple other applicants. There's people in this room that all help in the process. Judy, our HR person, sits in on pretty much all of the interviews, and she's a valuable asset to this. It's always great when we interview people. I enjoy having somebody who is not a police officer interviewing our candidates. Brings a different perspective, and we appreciate that. Part of the process is making sure that a person has the right credibility, they have the right background, they're the type of person that we want working here. And that includes people that come that are law enforcement officers somewhere else. And one of the people I'd like to acknowledge that we invited tonight, who's sitting all the way in the back of the room trying to hide, is retired Sergeant Phil Ledley, who was integral in helping us conducting backgrounds. And he did the background with Casey. And another reason why I wanted to invite him here tonight is because when you do a background for people, there's a lot of great people that apply to be police officers. But your job as a background investigator isn't necessarily to like those folks, and it's hard to do it. Your job is to make sure that there's not something that we're missing and that there's not an issue that we have to be concerned with. So you have to intentionally kind of push that to the side. So when somebody actually makes it through the process and gets to the point where they're standing up here, I think it's a pretty cool thing to sit as a background investigator because it's hard not to like these people because they're good people. From there, Casey comes to us. He does 2 weeks inside. He just completed his field training program, and he's out on his own. And I asked him in here tonight so, give you guys an idea. First of all, this is the person that we talked about in a couple of the police reports that I gave. All right, this is a real life guy. This is Casey Mann. All right, he does exist. Casey comes to us. He's originally from Hampstead, born and raised here. Went to North Carroll. Went to college down in North Carolina. From there, he ultimately ended up in PG County. He and his wife and his son Remington, correct? All right, all live in Manchester area, and he essentially is back home. And we're fortunate to have him. We enjoyed him. I think he's going to be a good fit here. And we wanted to take tonight in, and he was sworn in a private ceremony previously, but I think it's very important for us to do this in the public. So everybody here can see who our guy is, who we're talking about, and understand the significance of the badge. And the mayor was just kidding me before the meeting started because he's heard this so many times that he thinks he can probably do it. And he's 100% correct, but it's important for everybody to understand. We talked about community policing. We just talked about the value of it. We demonstrated in one of our commendations that we did tonight. The history of policing, the creation of policing, back to the whole Peelian concepts where they talk about how important it is to be in tune with the community, because we don't succeed without a group of people that support us. And it's not the folks up here, it's not the mayor, no offense to any of these folks, it's everybody that sits on this side of the meeting. Everybody's watching on TV. If anybody's watching on TV, I don't know. All right, yeah. But it's important that you get the community support because we can't do that without that. So I remind everybody, and I remind the guys that have been here for a while, myself included, This badge that I'm gonna give to Casey in a second here, so his wife can pin on it, and I don't even know how we're gonna do that now, we're gonna have to figure that out. I should have told you, you needed free hands. Everybody has to understand, it's not his badge, it's not their badge. Badge belongs to everybody out here. Everybody that's sitting on this side of the town hall, and everybody that's watching on TV, everybody that's outside, you entrust us to do the right thing with this. And the guys that are issued this badge, it's not their badge, they have it for a certain period of time, and then it is their time to leave, and somebody else gets to carry the badge. And your responsibility as an individual is to make sure that you are meeting the obligations and the expectations of everybody out here when you're carrying this. So I'm not gonna go any longer. Casey, I'm gonna give, I don't know how you wanna do this.
I'll hold the
First I
baby.
gotta swear him in, then you gotta put the badge on.
I like to say, I can hold the baby. I'm losing.
I can hold it.
I can hold it.
Is he gonna be comfortable with somebody holding him or not?
Yeah.
Yes,
You guys lose, sorry.
Oh, she's got it, Graham.
See what you did there.
Is that your mom?
I didn't want you fighting her. It's grandma.
I'm a grandma.
Thanks. All right, raise your right hand. I, Casey R. Mann,
I, Casey R. Mann,
do swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
do swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland,
and that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland,
the town of Hampstead,
the town of Hampstead,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and that I will, to the best of my skill and judgment,
and that I will, to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
diligently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality or prejudice,
execute the office of police officer of the Hampstead Police Department
execute the office of police officer of the Hampstead Police Department
according to the Constitution and laws of this state.
according to the Constitution and laws of this state.
Congratulations. Good job. Take a picture. Family picture.
Can't see us.
Good job. Thank you.
All right. That's in the next stop.
The wide brim.
So, Boy Scouts, that's the fun part of this job, is recognizing people for a job well done and welcoming new people on board. You know, hopefully you figured out in Hampstead, there's still good and bad, there's still right and wrong. And if you were on the unfortunate side where, you know, you've done wrong, you don't get a free pass here. Or if you need help, these guys and ladies are there to help you out. And I tell them, you know, a lot of times, my dad's a Baltimore City retired cop, my uncle was as well, but with the authority that we give you in that badge comes great responsibility and, but just importantly, discretion and how you exercise that authority. And I think these guys have all shown just how well they do their jobs. So, other new business, more mundane stuff. We have an award contract for solid waste and recyclables collection services. Related to the bid that we did, and we had a sole bidder who's our current trash company. So this is the pickup of trash, one of the primary responsibilities of our town. It's a 5-year contract from Who's Trash Removal, and the total amount of $2,092,081. And I think you all have a breakdown of it, how it works annually, and how it compares to the, you know, as I looked at how it compared to the last annual contract, and as you can guess, with the price of the last 5-year contract, with the price of gas going up and with the cost of help going up, and then the other part of it is we were never charged tipping fees for recycling before, so that was a $30,000 surprise. So there you end up with our $2 million number. So
Motion to approve the bid from Hughes Trash Removal.
Second.
any further discussion?
I think they've done an excellent job for us.
They've compared to the folks who were doing it before, yes.
They have.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. All right, then we have an award of bid paving for Fairmount Road. We got to keep the roads paved. You see we had 4 bidders, the usual folks, MT Laney, Gray & Son, CJ Miller, and White Pine Paving, and MT Laney came in the low bid in this case for $97,186.
Motion to approve the bid from MT Laney Company.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. I think, Dave, we're about to go through an election here, which is unusual in that there's no competition. So that either says we're doing a good job, or we're just crazy enough to do it in this day of social media that, that people, I can understand why people would be hesitant to step up and do it. But, I hope it's some combination of both. But I know you guys wanted to talk about it, and I've talked to staff about it. And, the suggestions are that we close our election registration for candidates 30 days ahead of the election, and that's probably in this day and age a little too short a window. If you're sitting there as an incumbent waiting for somebody to come in the last day to figure out to order signs and put your stuff together, it should probably be a little bit longer of a window. We cannot extend the period of time that you have to be a resident for the town of Hampstead. That would get shot down in court. That's currently a year. You have to be a year to be on the town council or the mayor, and I think you have to be 25 years of age. And probably at a year is about as far out as you can stretch it. So I know there's other towns that might have it longer, but if somebody were new to town and wanted to move in and run for office, and took it to court and challenged it, they would probably prevail. So there's a few things we have to do to update our code related to election, which we will take care of, obviously, after this one. But obviously, we're going to have an election on May 9th here, and I'm up, and as well as Deb and Dave. So we'll continue to look at that, and that'll be a job over the summer, so that when we're 2 years hence, we'll have something that postdates 1970. Does that work?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then, last but not least, is an approval for amount not to exceed $50,000 for the continued planning and engineering work on the wells and system improvements related to PFAS-related issues. For those new to attendance, EPA and the Maryland Department of the Environment continue to find emerging contaminants in water. And so their latest one is PFAS, PFOS, PFOA, which is plastics in water, basically. And the level at which they're regulating this is the guidance is out 4 parts per trillion. So for those who want to figure that out, that's a drop of water in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. 1 drop of water in 660,000 gallons of water is what we have to find and get rid of. And that's going to cost us money over time. There's lots of wells in the state, in the country, that have this issue. So it's not unusual. Our water continues to be safe. It continues to be drinkable. But we have to get in front of this, because it's the regulatory environment that we live in. There's no sense in fighting it. We have to plan, and we have to plan accordingly. And as we've always done since I've been here, plan for the long term, which is 20 years and more. And so we've had 2 engineering groups working on this. The way you get rid of the PFAS is through granular carbon-activated filters. It's the way we've decided we're going to head. Then the other part of it is maybe blending some wells, which is up for some debate as to whether they're going to let us blend wells, which they've always let us do before. And then how we're going to implement all these improvements and combine wells and or build new ones. So this is the second part of it. I know, Ben, you had some questions. Hopefully you saw the answers.
I did see some of the answers. Still have questions, but
Good. I'll set you up with the consultants.
no, so I think HDR has done a great job. The question I have is just, I saw your email delineating like tasks on a bullet point list. Is there like a guaranteed maximum price contract, or we're adding to their task orders underneath their master agreement?
Yes, we're adding to their task orders under their master agreement, and depending upon where we go from here and what the regulations are at the end of the day, there'll be more.
Yes, yeah.
So this is not a cheap project.
No, yeah.
So
He did
But
mention some things that they didn't charge for and that he's putting into their budget. Do we need to include that in this number of the things they didn't charge for, so they can if they need to, or just keep having them include it in their management fee?
I think you have them, give them flexibility and have them included in their management fee as needed. But we're basically giving them approval to not exceed $50,000 and to continue that work, which was the 6 things laid out. Taking the next steps. They've done. I think
they've done a great job.
Yeah, thanks. I agree. We're
It's just
thankfully
it's a lot of money every time.
Yeah.
And make a motion.
Motion to approve. amount to not exceed $50,000.
Second.
Second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. That'll be a budget conversation. It'll be an ongoing conversation. It's a multi-year project. It won't happen overnight. So, and thank God we have some, we don't have all the funds to cover it. We put in money from the state. We're hopeful to get some of that. We'll see what they think significant is compared to what we think significant is. But then we also have some American Rescue Plan money that's sitting on the sidelines that we can use for this as well. So, more to be discussed as we continue to go on related to our water system. So, Boy Scouts, you've heard about water systems, you've heard about law enforcement, you've heard about trash, you've heard about roads, planning and zoning, train stations, farmers markets, parks. We got it all tonight. All right. There's no ordinances or resolutions, so public comments. Are there any? Yes, sir.
We got a couple of questions.
I look forward to it, but first, each one of them's got to stand up and give me their name, what school they go to. You got to earn this merit badge. And if you got a question while you're at it, that'd be great. Speak loud, too.
My name's Travis, and I go to Franklin High School.
Got a last name, Travis?
Travis Bonacci.
Thank you.
Can you provide an example of an issue where there has been a difference of opinion at a town hall meeting and how it was resolved?
Sure. We're no differences tonight, but there was a while back where we had a rezoning of a piece of property. Go out to the end of this road and make a right, where we're looking to develop a residential subdivision that we think is sorely needed. It was a farm, and some of the folks that obviously were sitting around it didn't see the need for that, that weren't necessarily in town. And so there was a lot of back and forth, and this room was full of people giving reasons why it shouldn't happen and other people giving reasons why it should. So we just basically hear people out thoughtfully and professionally and accept their opinion, but at times you have to agree to disagree.
And I think you just provide them as much information as possible when they have questions.
Welcome. Next.
My name is William Sharpless, and I'm homeschooled. Many of the scouts here tonight live in Reisterstown/Owings Mills. Is the local government in these jurisdictions structured like the town of Hampstead?
Nope. So you're in Baltimore County, and we're obviously hard up against the border over here in Baltimore County. So to some extent they are. I mean, they're a county government, right? So it's big, includes lots of different areas, and they don't have municipalities in Prince George's County other than a quarter acre of us. So don't let anybody. Baltimore County. Sorry. So they don't have anything other than a quarter of acre of us. So don't let anybody in Baltimore County tell you that they don't have a municipality because they got a little bit of us. But so they've got neighborhoods like Catonsville, Towson, Timonium, Owings Mills, Reisterstown, and they don't have local elected officials. So we have a county government, but then we have 8 municipalities in Carroll County, and each one has a mayor and a town council. And we function as a charter government, which means I am the executive. You've heard about executive form, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch, right? So I'm the executive, they're the legislative. And so the Baltimore County would have that with the county executive and then their county council. But you don't have a Reisterstown Town Council, you don't have an Owings Mills Town Council. So Baltimore County misses out on that.
Howard County as well.
Yep. All right, next. Well, you got to stand up and introduce yourself at a minimum. They were 2 good questions.
Right.
Come on, you got to earn that merit badge.
My name is Braden Scott. I go to Franklin High.
Thank you. What grade? Okay.
I'm Ryan Kruger. I go to Loyola Lakefield. Wayne knows me. And what was the last question? I'm a senior.
Oh, very good. Where are you going next year?
I'm going to York College.
And thinking about?
Mechanical engineering.
That's a worthy major. Good job.
I had the pleasure of attending his Eagle Scout ceremony last month.
Very good.
Also, he's the young man that, with the help of his fellow scouts, rebuilt the stairways on the back of the train station.
Very nice. Good job. Thank you.
Good Eagle project.
All right, my name is Jackson Rollins. I go to Centennial High School, Howard County, and I'm in 11th grade.
Very good.
My name is Joshua Starcher. I am in 11th grade and I go to Franklin High School.
Very good. What are you doing, the guys in the front?
I'm Aiden Groves. I'm in the 12th grade. I go to DeLone Catholic.
Very nice. Up the road.
Yeah.
You got a good basketball coach up there for the women, I think.
Yes.
Isn't Pastor Rudolph your basketball coach up there?
Pastor
There you go.
Rudolph. I'm JP Groves. I also go to the Lone Catholic, and I'm in 10th grade.
Very good.
I'm Rebel Tillman. I'm in 8th grade, and I go to public school.
Very good.
My name is Patrick Tillman, and I go to public school in 6th grade.
Very good.
My name is Hayden Barrow. I go to Hampstead High School and I'm in 9th grade.
Very good. Lots of different schools. I get everybody? I already got you, right?
My name is Desmond Tillman, and I go to Calvert School in 6th grade.
Three Tillmans. All right. Am I missing anybody? Here. Very good. Thank you. We get everybody? Thanks, guys, for coming. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Scoutmasters, for bringing them. Hopefully you learned a little bit tonight. Any other public comments? Going once, twice. Take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
That couldn't have been said any softer. Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Once again, thank everybody. Appreciate it.
Before everybody gets up, can we get a picture with the scouts?
Sure.